Hello everyone, welcome to my first Let's Play on the channel. Having never done one before, I thought Violet would be the perfect place to start. There will be spoilers if you've not played the game yourself, which obviously I can't avoid, but please stick around until later in the video to hear some of my thoughts on the new Pokemon. Let's go! I'd usually class myself as a shiny hunter and collector, but I thought I'd try something new for you guys, so let me know what you think, and the next part won't take me as long to do. I've already nearly finished editing that one. I did learn the hard way that recording my audio over the game at the same time using my microphone messed everything up and it was a terrible idea. So in between work, progressing in the game, recording it and editing, I've had to try and write a script and record it separately because I don't think I can talk to myself for this length of video. It's a long ass video and I don't think I can talk to myself for that long, believe it or not. And I've also learned that my living room has really, really terrible acoustics for audio, so I've been playing the game downstairs and then having to record this upstairs, it involves a lot of faffing about and moving things. I'm playing the game with a wireless GameCube style controller, which has got Espeon on it. Espeon is one of my favourite Pokemon, so when I saw this controller, I had to have it. It does feel more robust than Switch controllers, so I think I'm going to carry on using this. I've had it for a while, but I've used it sort of on and off. This is the most consistent I've been with it. I've sped up the footage in editing because at gameplay speed it's just so slow. You might have seen that the main complaint from people is that the game is very laggy and there's bugs, and I must admit that was sort of my first bad thought about the game. When I was playing it, I was just like, oh, this is laggy, but I thought it might have been because it was on a capture card, but it does not appear to be that way. I usually try and make my character look as much like me as I can, which I could spend ages just customising my character and choosing outfits and things, you know, that sort of thing in a game. None of the characters look like me, so I've chosen the closest one, and I've actually picked a hairstyle that I don't wear too often, but I do change my hair colour and my hairstyle later, so my character actually looks nothing like me. So here we're choosing our starter. Each one has got a 12.5% chance of being female, which is what I want. We had a tabby cat when I was little, and I always used to call her our green cat. I draw pictures of her and I colour in green with black stripes because that's what a tabby is. So as soon as the game and the starters were revealed, I knew I wanted a female green cat to name her after Minnie the Moocher. And I stand by it. Minnie was a green cat. I will fight anybody on this. I'll see if I can find a picture to insert here, and you can see for yourself, green cat. I've spent many hours of the game so far just filling the Pokédex because I had intended to ask on this first video which path I should choose. Because it took me a hell of a lot longer to actually get this video done, I decided to put a poll up on the community tab and I followed which path was in first place there. So that was the Titans. Little spoiler for you there. If you tell Nimona you don't want to be friends, does she become a more traditional rival and choose the starter which is strong against yours? I doubt it, but that'd be an interesting way of doing things. Let me know if you told her you don't want to be friends and if that actually is the case, because if that's true, I think that's a pretty interesting way of introducing your friend/rival, and I'll be a bit disappointed if that's not actually how it is, but I don't think it will be. Paldea itself reminds me quite a lot of Alola. I don't know if it's because it's very sunny and you can see the ocean, but it's giving me sun and moon vibes. I quite like the Alola region, even if I was slightly, very disappointed in Litten's final evolution. I did like Torracat though, but Incineroar was... it was powerful, but the design was not for me. I do hope Sprigatito's final evolution doesn't suck. I like Sprigatito as a design, and I don't mind it being bipedal as long as the design isn't terrible. I'm not holding my breath though, so I will wait and see. This is where we get the Pokédex. They've gone for a new direction this time. It looks a little bit like iBooks with the volumes stacked against a wooden shelf, which I quite like how it looks. It's different. I do feel like it takes longer to scroll though, but I think that's psychological because you're going across rather than down, and because they're little book volumes instead. But like I said, I think that's just in my head. It doesn't actually take any longer. It's just a me thing. Here I'm slowly making my way to the lighthouse. I'm going to try and catch any Pokemon I don't have in my decks as I go, so I don't have a load to catch later. I guess it's kind of like a Professor Oak challenge because I'm planning to do what I can before tackling the pathways. I've never done a Professor Oak challenge or a Nuzlocke or anything like that, so if it seems like it takes me a long ass time, that is why. After battling Nimona, I have a wander around and get some more items, talk to my mum, get a few things off her before Nimona runs off up the path. I'm going to take this opportunity to catch a few new Pokemon. I've seen there is this adorable looking spider type thing. It looks like it's made out of wool, a thread or something, and I'm digging it. I think it's adorable. There's also Lechonk on this route. I'm not sure if I'm going to use a Lechonk. I didn't feel as strongly about it as everyone else did when it was revealed. Unpopular opinion, I know. I think it's cute, but it's nothing special. My character now falls off a cliff after hearing a strange Pokemon cry after collapsing on the beach. I think this means we're about to be introduced to a ride Pokemon, although that feels very, very early for this. You might have noticed that when a wild Pokemon is defeated, we collect a small item from it, such as the Diglett Dirt or the Yungoos Fur. This is a new mechanic and I'm curious as to what we'll use them for. I do quite like how they've introduced the ride Pokemon. It's something we've not seen before, it's different, and I guess it shows off its power. To start off with, you have to follow it into this cave. I'm guessing this is the only way back to where the lighthouse is. So I take the chance to have a bit of a wander, see what Pokemon are down here. I found a Yungoos. There is a Houndoom up there. I don't think I can actually get to it. So I will carry on following Miraidon through this cave after I've caught a few more Pokemon. So we've caught a Diglett and a bunch of Houndour just ran off. Oh, here's the Houndoom, and it's level 40. I don't think I'm going to be battling it anytime soon. Miraidon saves the day and carries us to safety away from the gang of Houndour and the level 40 Houndoom. So I suppose I should get my ass to the lighthouse. This is where we meet Arven, and he comes across as a bit of a jerk, actually, to begin with. He does remind me a bit of Blue or Silver, but with a penchant for friendly rivals, I can't see him staying this way. We do have to battle him after he's had a whinge at us about Miraidon, but he's only got a very low level Squavit, so he's pretty easy to beat. After he's beaten, he turns around and actually gives us a Pokeball from Miraidon, so I'm guessing it's ours now. Nimona welcomes us to Paldea and shows us a lovely view of school from the lighthouse before we make our way to the first town. This is a good opportunity to add some more volumes to my Pokédex and collect some more items. If you're liking the video so far, please consider giving it a thumbs up. It doesn't cost you anything and it really helps the channel out. I'm pleasantly surprised at how many new Pokemon there are on the path, with no early bird or rodent Pokemon as would be expected. So like here we've got Psyduck, we've had Lechonk, we've had Pawmi, we've had the little tarantula spider guy, Buizel. These They might be more common sort of in early routes in other games, but there isn't any equivalent to Zigzagoon, or I'm very happy to see Paldea and Wooper so early in the game. So I take this chance to add one to my team. Because I have not seen any of the Pokemon past... Let's try that again. Because I've not seen any of the Pokemon past what has been revealed officially, I don't know too many of the new ones. So I don't know what my team's going to be yet, other than I'm going to try and use only new Pokemon. So I'm going to try and evolve. I'm going to try and avoid older Pokemon, like for example, a standard Wooper. But I think the Paldean Wooper might stick around because the Johtonian Wooper is one of my favourite Pokemon, and I really, really want to like its poison and ground counterpart just as much. So fingers crossed. Being able to travel literally anywhere is great, although I can see myself losing many hours to this. In a way, that's a good thing about a set linear route. You'll see in this I'm quickly all or nothing. I'll either talk to everyone and everything, or I'll ignore everyone just to get to the next part. And that's a little bit like me in real life. I will either talk your ear off, or I won't say a thing to you. There's no in between. My plan for the Pokédex is to catch where I can, and evolve by levelling up or other means if I haven't found that evolution in the wild. So using the Paldean Wooper as an example, I'm going to try and find its evolution in the wild to catch it for my living dex. If I can't find one, then I will evolve one into whatever its evolution is going to be. I'm intrigued to see Scatterbug because this means there is likely Vivillon in Paldea. And I'm interested to see if they bring in a new form for it rather than the real world variants they did in Generation 6. Having collected them all twice over, except for the Pokeball and Fancy Patterns, I don't really want to have to do that again. So I'm hoping they've introduced a special Paldean version rather than having the garden variety again, like we did in X and Y and Oras. I am impressed with the level of texture on the Pokemon and people's outfits, but slight criticism. I do wish they put more of that effort into the background as well. I know it's cliche to say that 3D Pokemon games have N64 graphics, but the terrain really does remind me of Super Mario 64. Sorry. It does. I do think the graphics are really nice. It is a visually appealing game. There just could be some improvements to be made. So here I've spoken to a guy at the Pokemon Center, and they actually have a little challenge where if you beat a certain amount of trainers on the route, you'll get given a reward of some kind. And another nice touch is Nurse Joy will actually give you a direction of where to go if it's very overwhelming with the amount of different places you can go, which I thought that was pretty cool. They've never done that before. I spoke to her and she suggested a gym, which I chose not to do. Sorry, Nurse Joy. The battle with Nimona introduces us to Paldea's unique battling form, Terastallizing. I think it's possibly the best looking gimmick that they've come up with, and the thought of having a third type seems like it's really going to change the competitive scene. I've never played competitive Pokemon, so I'm not going to pretend that I know anything about it, but if you have, let me know how it changes it, because I'm really curious and I'd love to know. I spent a lot longer than I care to admit exploring the main city, which seems to be bigger than it needed to be. There's a lot of the same cafe, you can't wander around the shops anymore, you're greeted with a drop-down list rather than being able to walk around the shop, which does feel like a bit of a step backwards. It does seem like the developers didn't know what to put in there because they'd created so many, if that makes sense. But I do really, really like the plaza with the mosaics, and the different levels, like the terrain levels, are a nice attention to detail. Although I'm not sure about the seafood dish containing cloth. I know Pokemon being eaten has been mentioned before, and I know M&J TV has got a video of which Pokemon he'd eat, but I don't like the idea of eating Pokemon. My headcanon for Alola was that everyone was vegetarian because they only seem to eat berries and the milk tank dairy products, and this game's making it hard for me to apply that. I told myself that the curry ingredients in Galar were also vegetarian for the same reason, because nobody likes the idea of eating a Lechonk. Or is that just me? I feel like eating Pokemon is a bit of a moral, ethical grey area, and that could be a whole video in itself. I mean, it's not a new thing, is it? With Slowpoke tails and Magikarps, so I think that's just a me thing again. We're introduced to Team Star and we're given the ability to terrestrialise before finally making it to school. I quite like Team Star's outfits. I like the glasses, goggles, decoration, whatever you want to call it, that they've got on their helmets. I quite like that they've still got the school uniform on, even though they are rebels. And I like the fact that you get given the Terror Orb and are thrown into a battle with a second Team Star grunt. And actually, they're quite believable characters. Their attitude and interaction with Nimona is very believable, which, again, it's just little things like that that really help make the game. With that done, we head up to school, we run up a load of paths, and we make our way to our homeroom. I introduce myself as a Pokemon collector to the rest of my class before having a wander around the Hogwarts-esque building. Nimona tries to tempt us into taking on the Victory Road Gym Challenge, which focuses on battling. And I'm not sure I'm going to do this for my first one because there's 2 new things I can do instead. Why would I do a gym challenge when that's been every other Pokemon game ever? I might do that one last. Unless there's something really special about it, but I don't think there will be. But we'll see. And Arvin wants us to help him find some magical sounding herbs guarded by Titan Pokemon. He's got this interesting looking book which has got some information in about Area Zero and Herba Mystica, so I'm sure we'll see more of that if we choose to help him first, or when we do help him. I do try to leave and my phone rings as it's been hacked by someone called Cassiopeia. I don't know who she is, but I think we'll hear more from her later. We're called to Director Clavel's office and we're introduced to Professor Turo. We have a bit of a discussion about Miraidon and his Pokemon research that he's doing in Area Zero, which is in the Great Crater, and Miraidon decides to show itself. He asks you if you'll continue looking after it, which I'm more than happy to do because that's how I get around. And I'm sure we'll have another benefit from it later. A quick video chat later and we're shown our own dorm room before time skips to the treasure hunt, the crux of the game and the pathways. We run outside and the director gives us a bit of an overview of what the treasure hunt is. The one rule: don't enter the Great Crater of Paldea. I'm sure there's a very good reason for that, but as with most things, I expect we'll find out more about that later. Excited students race off in search of treasure, and you're accosted from all sides as Nimona, Arven, and Cassiopeia try to nudge you to a path of their benefit. But which one to do first? I do think I will leave the gym challenge for last, like I said, because that's not new. Team Star is slightly different, and most people on the poll voted for the Path of Legends, the Herba Mystica, so I think I'm going to do that. If you've made it to the end, you're the real MVP. No, really. Thanks so much to everyone who's been watching, commenting and subscribing. It really means a lot to me, and I'd love it if you'd consider subscribing for future content if you haven't already. If you don't like what I'm doing, you can always unsubscribe. I won't take it personally, I promise. I also promise there won't be as long a wait for part 2. So I'll see you on the treasure hunt. Bye!